My guest this evening is a very talented British artist, acclaimed around the Western world for his amazing ability to seek out and paint in detail the wildlife he encounters while tracking and travelling all over the globe. When he's not travelling, he's right here at home with his family in the Gascony region. His name is Michael. No, don't laugh, folks. His name is, in fact, Michael Jackson. Michael, welcome to the Gascony Show.
Thank you very much, John. Nice to be here.
Good stuff, Michael. You're a most talented individual, a painter, and with an amazing attention to detail. Let's talk about your painting, yeah? When did you start? When did you get into it?
I guess I've been painting all my life, as far back as I can remember. From being, I guess, 6, 7 years old, I can remember picking up a brush and drawing, and I think it was probably when I was in my early teens at school that we had a very eccentric teacher, Mr. McCubbin, who was a fantastic guy. Mr. McCubbin, yeah. And he used to let off great screams in the classroom now and again, and he was quite an eccentric. And we, just drawing and painting, but he always used to call me the genius for some reason. And I look back at the paintings, because I've kept some of them, and I don't know what he was talking about, because believe me, those things that, I look back now and look at these paintings and things, I don't know what he was saw in them, but I guess he must have seen something, because I've been painting and drawing pretty much all my life, so, yeah.
So you're a hardened painter, as you say.
Indeed.
Have you got a formal education then in art?
Yeah, I left, when I left school, I had an option really to go to Blackpool College of Art and Technology, or go down a more sort of traditional route of engineering. And engineering was always a great interest for me, engineering, drawing and problem solving. Mm-hmm. So I almost went down the course of going to work with British Aerospace and do a formal sort of degree course there. And at the sort of 11th hour, I put an application into Blackpool College of Art and Technology, and I was accepted on a course there for technical illustration. Mm-hmm. And technical illustration was always one of those things that, as a kid, I was always into motorbikes and stuff like that, and taking things to bits. And I always used to look at the manuals and all these fantastic drawings of engines that were cut into pieces and exploded, and I thought, how do they do that, and it was one of these courses that it was all there, it was all that kind of stuff, so it was right up my street.
And it was in 3D kind of stuff, wasn't it?
Oh, in 3D, yeah. 3D I mean, it was, now it's very simple, but then it was, it was done the traditional way with, doing complicated perspective grids and calculating the ellipse values of things and the vanishing points, and being able to read blueprints and translate those into a 3D drawing. So it was a mile away from fine art, but it was that was my route into where I am today, I guess.
Yeah, so it all stemmed from there?
It did, yeah. I mean, I did 3 years doing technical illustration, and I did my advanced diploma, I did my A-levels while I was there, and I had an option after a disastrous 3 weeks in an industrial placement, which was perhaps the most boring job in the world, drawing rivets on a sort of fighter aircraft's wings, identifying them, and it was just mindless. And I thought, if this is a taste of things to come, it's
like
really for me. So I had an opportunity to do a further year doing scientific and natural history illustration, which it was the same kind of thing, but with natural forms and doing dissections, and I guess that's where the cutaways came into play. But also being able to illustrate books, things for books and magazines, and that was the sort of direction that I thought maybe when I finish this course I can become an illustrator. Mm-hmm. So, which is pretty much what I did. Once the course had finished, which was the best years, it was fantastic. I really, really thoroughly enjoyed that time, I did well on the course. I worked really hard, which is something I never did at school. It's kind of a bit of always in the wrong place at the wrong time.
A bit of a loud way, yeah.
But,
no harm in that.
College, I really knuckled down. I really worked hard. I had a lot of fun as well, but, it paid off. And, I mean, when I left college, it was 1980, so it was, was what do you do next? You know, there was no careers advice, there was no direction really. And somebody suggested that if you want to be an illustrator, you want to get an agent. You know, so I decided to go down to London and check some agencies out, and I got signed up pretty much straight away. Ironically, on the way out of London, not way out of London, but when I was in central London, I was waiting for an appointment, and I had my portfolio with me. And I called in at a gallery called the Tryon Gallery, which at the time, I didn't know this at the time, but it was probably the gallery in the UK for wildlife and sporting art.
All right.
And I went in with my portfolio, and there's a very, very far back chap, Major David Bigham, who was very poor. And it was very, very good work, it was very, very splendid. And he sort of invited me actually to be one of his artists, and I said, well, it's very nice of you, thank you very much, but I've just actually signed up with an agency. I'm going to be an illustrator. And I guess really that was a massive mistake, because it took me about maybe 10 years to get back to his door really, and it's a very convoluted story, but I became an illustrator, and it was really tough to start off with, because you've got a very limited portfolio of work, and the first few years were really, really hard. I went back into teaching. Actually, I was invited to go back and work at the college that I was taught at as a part-time teacher,
right.
And I did that. I taught 2 days a week for about 3 years, which was really good. Actually, it was really well paid, which was fantastic because I wasn't earning much from art at all, and over a period of time, I got my better portfolio. I got another agent on board, and then it was really kind of feast or famine. The advertising world is famous for big budgets, but there's quite a long period of time, quite often, between one job and the next, and it was always you'd get these briefs on Friday, and Friday, probably sitting on some advertising editor's desk all week, and it'd be a week's work, and they'd want it Monday morning, so you'd have
cancel the pub.
cancel all the parties, and work right through the weekend,
Yeah.
But the money was really good, for those 2 days. It made up for all the times that were really quiet. So,
sure, yeah.
What happened was really, I guess, after about 10 years, the periods between work got progressively longer because computers got more and more able to do some of the stuff that illustrators weren't capable of doing. My speciality was always to do with wildlife, so if there was an advertisement going in a magazine or whatever, they would give me the brief and I would paint it, according to the instructions. But then computer programs became so advanced that you could do these rendering programs that would perhaps do the work of an illustrator. So I really started, doing fine art in between jobs. That was the thing, and I ended up with a collection of work after a period of time. So
it's not easy, is it, to establish yourself as an artist?
It's very, very hard. Yeah. I mean, there's an awful lot of artists around with fantastic talent, and it's all down to getting some really good breaks, and working hard. I mean, that's one of the things. You've got to really work at it. And nothing really does not come easy. And just actually getting a foot in the door is quite often really, really difficult at these galleries, because they get portfolios every week.
Mind you, that chap won that major one. You right at the start there. Opportunity knocks, as they say.
It was bizarre because 10 years later, they had an exhibition of exotic birds, and I just sold a few paintings at Christie's of exotic birds, and he'd done quite well.
Right.
And he contacted me and said, we've got this exhibition going on, would you be prepared to do some work? And I did. I explained that I'd met him all these years ago, and he didn't remember, of course. But it was good. It was a good exhibition, and I think I put up 12 pieces in, and it was a shared exhibition, and it was great because that was my first show really in London, and it was a sellout, in the first night. So it was great,
Yeah. So what you do for the rest of the week?
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you describe for us your painting style? What I mean.
I guess the best description really is photorealism, which it's extremely realistic. It's really a bit. I always try and make it more than a photograph because there's no point in just replicating a photograph entirely because anybody can do that. Why have a painting when you can have a photograph? So I use photographic elements and incorporate them into my own design and compositions. So photography is a key element, for the reference and the accuracy, but it would be perhaps best described as photorealism.
Right. I've seen some of them. I mean, on the internet.
Okay.
More than I hope to see some more tonight, perhaps.
Yeah.
And they are quite spectacular, actually.
Thank you very much.
Very, very impressive. Yeah. I mean, quite amazing stuff. So anyway, you go to great extremes to search out inspiration for your paintings, I hear. I mean, tell us about places you've visited and stuff.
Well, I started working with the Halcyon Gallery in London probably 20 years ago, and one of the things was their clientele are very discerning in so much as that these people know the difference between something that's, if you go down the zoo and photograph a tiger, for example, they're generally very fat, lazy looking,
Starved, some of them. Depends which zoo you're in.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And these people have probably been out to India, and they know the difference between something that's a wild tiger and
coming at you.
Yeah. And it's quite funny because you see, in my travels, you see lots of art, from different artists, and you can tell they've just been down the zoo and painted what they've seen. So it's very important to, it was always stressed, it was very important to go and get first-hand reference, which was great because it gave me an excuse to go travelling. And my wife and I, Ali, we've always enjoyed travelling anyway, Yeah. And, we've fortunately been travelling all over the world ever since, and I mean, I've been on special trips with other artists, and we've been to some incredible places, from South America, Africa, India, Central America, and Central Africa, one of the most memorable places was Rwanda, to see the mountain gorillas, which was absolutely unbelievable. And
I think there's a photo of you on the web.
There is, I see. Yes. Spot the difference.
He looks a little bit bigger than you. He's got bigger shoulders.
No, but it was an absolutely wonderful experience. I mean, it was a bit scary because it was only 2 years after the genocide, and there was still all the hallmarks of, all the sort of fighting and damage everywhere, so it was a really, really dangerous time, but it was really tremendously exciting, to go and sort of
it's fantastic that you can get all this travel into exotic places like that and still work and
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, you can't ever do any work when you're there, we wanted to take sketch pads, and I was also with a sculptor who wanted to do some work on site, But the terrain is so, impenetrable. This forest that these gorillas live in, it's at 14,000 feet, so it's pretty hard going anyway. And it's either either going up or you're going down. And you're limited to what you can take in and what you're taking out, and you're flanked by armed guards, because there's the other type of gorillas in there who would like to take you away. So, working in the field is difficult, really, in terms of drawing and sketching, but it's quite easy to get your camera out and get those photo opportunities that give you inspiration once you get back into the studio to do the work,
Yeah. Actually, on that note, while we're talking about exotic places to visit, we had an email this morning from a Karen Holmes in South Africa, who wished you all the best on the show, and would love if you'd come to visit South Africa and see some real wildlife. Now, your portraiture is also described as extraordinary, might I say. So, do you do a lot of portraits? Is that a big part?
I'm moving more into portraiture this last sort of 5-6 years. I've always really enjoyed doing sort of indigenous peoples, really. I've travelled to some fairly outlandish places where there's some incredible looking people, and they give great inspiration, to see these people. And They make great subjects, so I'm always looking to explore new possibilities within that sphere. A couple of years ago, I was lucky enough to go to Ethiopia, and there was a fantastic festival on there, a festival of music and tribal culture, and there was 50 different tribes together, gathered in one place, and all celebrating, the culture, the music, and it was a just wonderful experience to be there. So, as a result, I've done some, sort of tribal paintings of these people. Normally, it would be almost impossible to see, that sort of collection of people in one spot. And it would probably take you a year, to be honest, because the country's so big and the terrain is so savage,
Yeah.
You would never get that opportunity again. And unfortunately, the festival has been finished now due to political reasons. So it was a real one-off opportunity for me.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you're a full-time painter, right? So so you live off your talent, basically. You don't go out there and sort of work in the pub on the weekends, right?
It sounds like a plan.
Have you been that successful for long that you've been,
I've been professional all my life, and
Right.
there's been massive highs and lows, and it's not plain sailing. And like I said before, a lot of being an artist is down to hard work and sort of perseverance, really. But more importantly, you have to have the breaks, And I've been lucky enough to have people who've helped me on the way, let's say, and opened some doors for me. In some respects.
And what about, Mike, if I might mention the big bad C word, what about the crisis? I mean, has that had a big effect on your...
Yeah, I mean, it's been massive, really, because, so art being one of the luxury items has been the first affected, really. I mean, people, wealthy people now have still got the money to buy art, but they're more inclined to buy what they need rather than what they want.
Right.
And I think that's happening right across the board. People see things that they would like, but they don't need them, so they're not buying them.
Even the wealthier people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
they're all being cautious.
Yeah, it's very cautious, and everybody wants a deal, which is normal. I mean, that goes without saying.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been very quiet the last couple of years. I'm hoping that the next big exhibition.
I would have thought art, particularly from an artist of your stature, I want to say, would be a shelter for money and for the wealthier people.
Well, you would think so, yeah. But it's really been quite a surprise. I mean, it was fairly buoyant up until 3 years ago, and this last sort of few years has been fairly quiet. It's been ticking over with commissions and. I have one big exhibition every 2 years, which hopefully keeps me.
And that's also in an exotic spot, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I've got a nice thing, sort of a nice clientele going in Barbados, which sounds very exotic, and it is, but believe me, it's a very difficult market to get into, and the logistics of actually putting it on are quite significant. The shipping, the framing costs, the import duty, the location, it all starts just adding up, so you've got a huge deficit before you even sell your first painting,
Right, yeah.
So it's quite stressful, but I mean, it has paid off, in the past. I've got another big exhibition coming up in February, so.
Right, and of course the big one tonight.
And the big one tonight,
in
yes. Yes,
just up the road from here.
Yeah.
Anyone who wants to meet Michael tonight, bear in mind that there is an exhibition and a vernissage going on this evening in Osh in Chateau Camille, which we mentioned a few times on the show, and you can see details about that on our website, in fact. Michael, you were born in northwest England and educated at Ashton High School, in fact, in Preston. Was it there that you discovered your interest in birds? That's my next question. There that you became a... I don't mean that. I bet you could talk about both types if you want. But there that you became... Can I even say the word? An ornithologist.
I was actually. I was a very keen ornithologist for a good few years, and we used to go all over the place, me and my friend, bird watching, and we'd just take ourselves off. I mean, you'd die today if you let your kids do what we used to get up to. We used to take ourselves off on the train, on the bus, Mum and Dad never used to know where we were, and go to some really ridiculous places.
Chasing birds.
Chasing birds. Yeah, no, it was
Yeah.
fantastic, and you know, I used to sort of go to one of the best spots, believe it or not, was a local rubbish tip down at Freckleton Marsh, which was they used to dredge the river there and put all these big ponds of silt and rubbish, and it used to attract birds from all over the place. I used to get some real rare migrants going through. If you could handle the smell, it was not the most beautiful of places, but in terms of rare birds, it was nothing better, you know.
And you still have this interest in birds? And,
Yeah. I always take my binoculars wherever I go, you know, and I'm not a twitcher or anything, you know, sort of too serious about that, but I enjoy, you know, the fact that there's such a bit of variety. I mean, even, you know, here in the Haute Pyrenees, it's absolutely wonderful. You know, you see birds commonplace that are extremely rare in England, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a real treat.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, we had, as I explained to you a little bit earlier on, we had an email from somebody, one of our fans, one of our listeners, who, when they heard that Michael Jackson was coming on the show, they said, well, how's that going to work? Is that going to be a seance? So how was it to grow up with sharing the famous name with the other famous Michael Jackson?
It's never worked in my favour, really. It's never been an advantage. It's never opened any doors as such, you know. It's certainly raised a few eyebrows and been the cause of great mirth at, you know, many hotels around the world. When you're checking in, you know, you get the people who look bored out of the tree working behind the desk and fill the form in, and then you fill the register in and then do a double take, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's been the cause of endless puns and fun for lots of people, and you know, sadly now that's no longer the case.
That skin whitening treatment has been really successful. The blonde hair and all that.
Yeah.
All right, Pat, Michael, we're going to take a little break there for a song. In fact, a song that you chose for us, and it's called "The Way It Is," from Bruce Hornsby and the Range. And we'll come right back to you right after this song. Is that okay?
Okay. See you later.
Yes, the very best music, and the best chat, of course, here on the Gascony Show. Now, if you've just joined us, I'm chatting here in the studio with the very brilliant wildlife artist, Michael Jackson. Michael, you've always been a conservationist, I hear, and I must commend you on your willingness to get out there and help. And over the last few years, I hear that over the last few years, you've been involved in fundraising for different charities, raising over 80,000 quid to distribute to various deserving causes.
Yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate, really. I mean, giving is better than receiving, right? So, and it's been very lucky for me because I've been in a position where all I've got to do is just give my work, and you know, I've been to some fantastic fundraisers where you donate paintings, and you've got the right people there, so which makes all the difference in the world, you know.
Yeah.
You know, several times we've raised massive amounts of money, you know, in a very short period of time. Other times it's taken, you know, lots and lots of real hard work, you know, over a real long period of time just to raise a few 100 quid or 1,000 quid here and there.
Sure.
And you know, I love to really work with different charities. It opens doors, you know, different opportunities to go places as well. We a few years ago, maybe 6 years ago, I went over to South America with the Rainforest Foundation to visit the Ashaninka Rainforest Indians, and that was just an opportunity because I was doing some work with the Halcyon Gallery, and we were given we decided that we would give a percentage of any work sold as a result of the trip back to that particular charity, and you know, to help the rainforest Indians with the cause. And it was the same thing with the gorillas. You know, we did the same thing when we got back from that trip to Rwanda. We donated a percentage of our sales back to Fauna and Flora International to help the protection of the mountain gorillas.
Sure. Yeah. And there's some of the other charities that you've given to, Care for the Wild International?
Care for the Wild, yeah, that was the big charity that I got involved with several years, about 10 years ago. And we were invited to go to India with them and visit the tigers at Ranthambore. And it was there that I was, really inspired by the work that one man, Govardhan Singh Rathore, was doing for the tiger, because everybody hears about the poaching that goes on there.
Yeah. And
it's quite, it's absolutely unbelievable, that there's such a few tigers left in such a big country, you know.
I know, yeah.
And it was so magical, the place. And we heard, you know, whilst we were there, that the week before we arrived, there was, I think, 3 tigers missing, you know. This is a big reserve, and it only really houses 30 tigers at most. And you know, the population goes up and down, up and down, up and down, and the poaching is rife. You know, corruption is rife. You know, India is legendary for that.
Sure.
And it was really talking to Govardhan about what are the solutions, and in his opinion, it was basically down to ignorance of the consequences. And a lack of education, you know, for the people. I mean, there's no education whatsoever really within that area. There's one or two private schools. The rest of the schools are, you know, pretty much non-existent.
Sure.
Most people don't stand a chance of a formal education. So it was his dream really to make a school where it would be self-sustaining by 50% of the students being able to pay for the formal education, and the rest would be on a scholarship. And it's been a fantastic success. I put some money in to start the thing off. I did spent 2 years fundraising, you know, donating work, donating print, you know, doing all kinds of different things, and managed to get together just over 24,000. Which basically, it's a lot of money in the UK, but in India it's an absolute fortune. You can multiply it by a factor of 10, you know.
Yeah. So with that, he built the school.
The school's been a huge success. I mean, on the back of that initial investment, he's managed to get more investment. It's now a school for, I think, 800 kids.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's a huge,
Enormous,
and it's self-sustaining.
Biggest Gary's son.
No, it's really good. I mean, and they've got school buses that do the rounds, you know, with all the little villages that surround the national park. Pick the kids up, starts at about 5 o'clock in the morning, and then the kids eventually get to school at sort of 7:30, you know.
My kids don't have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, but it's been a great success, you know. And
so education is very important, in your opinion, then, to conserve.
Absolutely, conservation efforts, you know. But it's been really tremendous to be involved in something that's been a success like that. And you know, I'm always sort of open to offers. If anybody's out there who wants any help with anything, you know, contact me anytime. You know, and if I can be any help, I certainly will be. You know,
I'll talk to you about that later. About my financial woes. We could swap cars for sure. What about gallerists? Who are you? What gallerists are you working with then, or do you have any permanent sort of gallerist arrangements?
Yeah, I mean, I'm working with the Halcyon Gallery still in London. I'm working with a new gallery in Barbados, Gallery New Age, and I'm just starting to work with a local gallery, Gallery Crystal Chameleon, which has got the vernissage tonight at Chateau Camille. That's a new venture for me. I normally don't sell in France, not for any particular reason other than that it's a difficult market around here, you know, so it's an unknown thing for me. I'm not, it's unfamiliar territory. So,
sure.
Touch wood and see how it goes. Yeah, hope for the best.
I'll bring my checkbook.
Yeah. Good.
Okay. Now, you once said, and I have to quote this, should I ever get to the point of total satisfaction, I think I'd better make that painting my last and put my brushes and easel away for good. So basically, painting for you is a constant pursuit of total satisfaction, is it?
I don't know about total satisfaction. It's a constant pursuit, and I think that's fair for most artists, really. People, you know, I don't think any artist would be happy with anything, you know, 100%. And as an artist, you're always sort of looking for new possibilities and new ways of doing stuff. You know,
right.
I'm sort of developing different style now, in as much as I'm trying to do a fusion at the moment. You know, I talked before about my style being photorealistic,
yes.
But I'm trying to break away from that sort of mold of being super sort of tight, you know, realistic work right through the painting. I'm now exploring a fusion between sort of abstract expressionism in the background, but also implementing the hyperrealism in a subject matter in the foreground, and so it's kind of a combination of the two. And it's quite good because, I mean, I'm really enjoying it. And the nice thing is, this work is quite contemporary. It's quite modern. It's I've not seen it anywhere before, so I think it's, for me, it's certainly breaking new ground.
Oh, fantastic.
And hopefully, it'll appeal to a broader clientele as well. So.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, we wish you well with that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Be interested to see how that goes.
Yeah.
Michael, you live here in France with your wife Ali and son Miles. What brought you to France, Michael?
Well, we've been coming to France on and off for the last sort of 10, 15 years. We always used to come over skiing, to the Alps, and we used to come down here on holidays and tour around and just think what a beautiful area it was. It seemed like it was an undiscovered secret, and I think to a large extent it still is. Yeah,
I've switched off the air while you're telling us that. We're not broadcasting.
Don't tell anybody. But we came down here, and we said, well, it would be really nice to have a holiday home, and we kind of looked around and looked around, and we wanted to buy an old farmhouse, really, and just, come down in the summer and maybe use it as a winter retreat so that we could go skiing. And that was really what attracted us. We thought the people were fantastic. We just loved the scenery. The weather was always like a treat. Because I'm from the northwest, which is the sort of wet county.
Not too far from Ireland.
Yeah.
We share the same rain.
It was just. I mean, the winters in England used to get me down. Because I used to go into my studio sort of about 8:30 in the morning, which would be dark, and then I'd come out of the studio at about 5:30, 6, and it would be still dark. So it was just. And
it would go on for about 11 months.
Yeah. And raining all the time, So, here I just love the climate. It makes you feel good. I mean, like you were saying before, just when you started the broadcast. I mean, it's incredible. Sitting out in the garden, having lunch in December.
T-shirts and shorts.
Excellent. It just doesn't get any better.
Now, you mentioned the farmhouse that you were looking for, but that farmhouse turned out to be a bit of a chateau in the end, didn't it?
Well, it was ridiculous. Yes, we kind of settled on 2 houses, my wife and I. Well, I settled on one, she settled on another, and they were 2, nice old farmhouses. Both had different sort of properties. And we couldn't agree that, on one or the other. So in the end, I just said, oh, forget it. Let's just, we'll just continue going on holiday. And we always used to look on this particular website, just within the sort of range of properties that we're interested in. And one wet Sunday afternoon, I just clicked on other things just as a matter of interest. And there was old mills, sort of maison de maîtres, and this chateau popped up, and I thought, oh, that looks nice,
Be having that.
And no, it was just ridiculous. I mean, it was, it was a lot more money than we were bargaining on spending, and it was really out of our budget. But it looked like a fairy tale, castle. And I showed Ali. I said, look at that place. That's incredible, Yeah. And that was that really. And we found another farmhouse which was just down the road, and I said, well, when we're looking at this place, why don't we just take a quick peek at this chateau just to see what it's like? And that's what we did, We went to the farmhouse first, and it was the best one we'd seen, and it ticked all the boxes.
Yeah.
And we were kind of nearly ready for signing on the dotted line, and then we went down the road and saw this place, and it was a wow. Until we got inside, and we realised, okay, this is why it's this price, because it needs a new roof, it needs completely renovating, every room needs renovating, every single thing that you could imagine wants doing, it really, really was
so you probably
bad.
sank more money into it after you bought
Yeah, I mean, it's been a money pit for sure, but we're not frightened of renovation. We've renovated 2 houses in the UK, and
So you roll up your sleeves yourself, then?
Oh yeah. Pretty much every day for the last 25 years.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So yeah, we're not sort of easily fazed by big projects. Although we did actually a couple of times. So we'd bitten off more than we could chew. And which is one of the reasons why we moved over permanently. We were trying to get work done on the place, and trying to manage the project from England, and then you'd come out and some things hadn't been done which you wanted to get done, or some things that had got done and they weren't done in the right way.
Yeah.
So we thought, well, we'll try it for a year. So we took our son out of school and put him in school here, and it worked a treat. You know, it was we loved it. You know, we got on with the project. I managed to set a small studio up in the on the top floor, which I could keep warm and get the right lighting, and work quite happily there. You know.
So, what's your typical work week? Your son on the side. I mean, if you're doing renovations in the chateau and you're also painting, and
yeah, I mean, most weekends are spent. You know, only in winter time we ski at the. If the sort of conditions are perfect, then we go, you know. But normally my working...
This year might be a good one.
My normal working day, I start work at about 8:30, and then I finish about 6. I put a good day in the studio, and that's 5 days a week, you know. I mean, I used to work ridiculous hours when I was with the Halcyon, you know. I used to put a 70-hour week in, you know. It was just got too much, you know, and that's one of the reasons that I wanted to just finish with that sort of with the gallery in London, really, because the pressure was on full time. You know, it was just you weren't no longer in a creative environment. You were trying to just do commercial work that you knew would sell. I wasn't developing as an artist, I thought.
So churning it out.
Churning it out, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So this is, you know, whilst you've got the pressure of actually renovating a big place, you know, and trying to make a living in between times as well.
It must be quite stressful, though. I mean, they must consume a lot of time.
Yeah, I think the thing is, when you sat in the studio all day, every day, you need to be doing something else, you know, completely different. I mean, my wife is very creative, and she's great hands-on as well. You know, she gets stuck in. She's not afraid of hard work, and we just like a project all the time, you know. So we break down the project into bite-sized pieces, let's say, and rather than being completely phased by the enormity of it, you know, we're on the right side of the renovations.
Brick by brick, as I
absolutely. Yeah. So.
What about the UK, Michael? Would you ever go back, or does there anything?
I went back. I was there 2 weeks ago, and just on some business and some loose ends and stuff. And I could not wait to get back here, you know. It was a bit of a shock, actually. Everybody's is so wrapped up in more and more and more, you know. People want more, and enough is never enough. People haven't got time for other people, you know. You know, it's just crazy, and the amount of traffic on the roads, you know.
Cars everywhere.
You can't, you know. You think, I'll just go here, you know. You try and plan an itinerary. And you can forget it because
cameras everywhere as well, so you can't.
Even
if there's many cars, if there's no cars in your way, you can't go past.
I could not wait to get back. Absolutely, and the only reason I would go back is just because I have to on business, and my parents live there, so
sure.
That's the only reason.
But you're a happy bunny down here.
I am indeed. Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I know you're probably dying to get off to your vernissage and that champagne that awaits. So, just to move on, Michael, I know a lot of your friends are probably listening this evening, so would you like to say a big hello to anyone in particular?
Well, yes, I would like to say hello to all my friends who are listening. Ali and Miles, lots of love to them. I think down here one of the great things is you meet such a variety of people, you know, from all walks of life, and there's such a wealth of interesting people, and artists, poets, writers. You know, it's just incredible, and most of my friends are of that ilk, you know, and it would be sort of take too long to say hello to everybody, but hello to all my friends and anybody else who knows me, so to speak. A big hello to Claire. I hope you're soon feeling better if you're listening. She's been really poorly recently, so hopefully she's on the mend.
Yeah, excellent. Now, to wrap up, can you tell our listeners, because I'm sure a lot of them will probably want to get in touch with you, how they can go about that? How can they contact you, and where can they get more information about on your paintings and your portraiture?
The best way really is just to visit the website, which is www.michaeljackson-art.com. You can see a selection of all the work that I've done there. The site is a bit antiquated, and it does need slightly updating with new stuff, but it gives you sort of some background history and all, you know, relevant information, and lots of different paintings to look at. So, but come along to Chateau Camille, and you can see some originals.
Yeah, and that's on until...
I think it's on until just before Christmas.
Just before Christmas, yeah.
yeah.
We'll be announcing that a little bit later. I have it on
Great.
my events list anyway. So keep with us, folks, and you'll hear all about the exhibition in Chateau Camille, where Michael is now displaying his paintings. Not so far from here, in fact, just up the road. Michael, thank you very much for coming on the Gascony Show.
It's a pleasure.
It's been a real pleasure as well to meet you and to interview you here on the show.
Je vous souhaite une très bonne fête.
De même, merci beaucoup.
Avec plaisir.
Okay.
Thank you.
That was Michael Jackson, folks, renowned wildlife artist, winner of the Best In-Show Award at the Wildlife Art Society exhibition in 1999, with 5 sellout exhibitions under his belt, and having achieved record prices at both Sotheby's and Christie's. If you would like to know more about Michael Jackson, see his website, www.michaeljackson-art.com. As we said earlier, Michael's currently exhibiting right here in the region at the Chateau Camille, in Osh, in fact. So you have until the 29th of January to visit this exhibition and see for yourself some of Michael's masterpieces.